Yesterday, I watched a video by Joe Rogan interviewing Howie Mandel, and they were talking about the fears they had relative to artificial intelligence. And what I realized very quickly is they hadn't read this book because they never mentioned synthetic biology and how it was going to change the world and how it would be driven by artificial intelligence. But the end consequences are far beyond what we're talking about with ChatGPT, and the recognition. If you will get this book and go to page 100, it's easy to remember, page 100, and read the next two pages. And in there, they're going to tell you how through synthetic biology, they're going to get into the best computer system in the world, and that is my mind, and how my mind uses DNA to sort through all the data that I've accumulated over the last 78 years and spit it out to you and sort it and make it all available. And through that DNA and our eventual, as a result of artificial intelligence, be able to synthesize my DNA and then put it on a computer chip. We'll take all the data we've accumulated over the past 40 years that are sitting in the data farms owned by Amazon and Google and Microsoft and Facebook, enormous farms, and will condense all that data that they currently have in those farms down to 2-gallon jugs of milk. That's how much space will be needed by taking DNA, synthetic DNA, and putting it on a computer chip, and then giving the capability to sort through those computer chips that are no bigger than 2 gallons of milk and solve any problem you have. Joe, Howie, that's what you should be concerned about. That's what you should be worried about, because the capabilities of that are so enormously beneficial and potentially the worst thing that ever happened to this society. Let's talk more about this. Let's get you understanding it. And most importantly, let's come to a conclusion as to where we're going to invest today to take advantage of artificial intelligence, synthetic biology, genome sequencing, and genome editing. There, as Cass Elliot sang, there's a new world coming.
Best of Us Investors presents Kerry Griegmeyer.
A new world coming. That's Cass Elliot from the Mamas and Papas. Sang it in 1970. Look it up on Google, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Now, there is, as Howie and Joe talked about, there are some fears wrapped around this. For every good thing that happens, if it gets in the hands of the wrong people, there's an equal, if not greater, bad thing that can happen. Particularly when you get into synthetic biology. You're manipulating the world. You're going to be able to change the dynamic of trees to create their ability for their leaves to take in more carbon dioxide, which will help in global warming. You're going to be able to clean up the seas from the plastic islands that are floating around by creating an enzyme that will eat them and turn them into something good. So there are all kinds of possibilities, and on the other side, there are negatives. I am of the mind that the bad behaviors of most people are motivated by the aggressive behaviors of others. And I use as an example, why is Vladimir Putin invading Ukraine? Well, it's because he feared NATO, and he also recognizes, and Joe, you recognize this because you had Peter Zion on, and he explained that the Russian economy is collapsing. I mean, when's the last time anybody bought a Russian car? The only thing we buy from Russia is vodka and caviar, and Europe buys some of their oil, but we've ignored them. And how would you behave if your society was decaying from the inside out, and because everything is better over in Europe and the United States, your young people are leaving, how would you react if you were Vladimir? How would you react if you're Xi Jinping and the United United States is saying, we're going to desert you. And oh, by the way, we've got our Seventh Fleet down in the lower Pacific working with the Australians, the Canadians, and the Japanese in maneuvers. How would you react? Well, Xi Jinping, well, his reaction is, he now has more destroyers than us. He's building his army because this aggressive country by the name of the United States is saying, we're going to keep our place in the world power. So the things happen for reasons. And so my thought is that if we take away the needs from everybody has everything they need, the aggression goes away. Okay, because I am not of the mind that Vladimir is acting just because he's a son of a bitch. I believe that, no, that's not the right word. That's a reflection on his mother, and I don't know his mother. So and I don't believe in calling people names. So he's just reacting for the benefit of his country. I mean, is this the first time anything like that happened? Well, I think there was a country invaded Vietnam when I was a young teenager and said, go over there and get yourself killed. And why? Why? Because we were afraid of China and we wanted military bases in Vietnam. So don't criticize Vladimir for something that we did. Just as equal. Hell, we did it to Iraq. We killed more people in Iraq. I'm going in the wrong direction. What I'm saying is that genome sequencing, artificial intelligence, synthetic biology is going to make the world a better place. And if we can get people in the key positions that recognize we can take the needs away from everybody, and everybody has what they need. Whether you're a homeless person in Los Angeles, and your needs will be taken care of because of the abundance that this new technology, this bioscience, this synthetic biology, the genome sequencing, genome editing, the change from medical care to medical cure is going to make the world a better place. And we will recognize that, and we'll take all the aggression out of the world. Joe, Howie, that's what I believe. And by the way, Joe, contact me. I'll come to you. I'd love to discuss this with you to take your fears away. So with that all in mind, that the world's going to become a better place. And I want you to, on page 137 of the book, it goes through the 9 risks that are involved in this new synthetic biology. And it addresses every one of your concerns. It doesn't go into my belief that this will make the world a safer place. You still have bad behaviors and bad actors, but if all the nations come together, and so if like we feared, remember when we used to be hacked all the time? If the whole world comes together and says, no, that ain't going to happen, not on our soil, then it goes away. Okay? So I think the world is a better place. So that brings us to today. And you wanting me to tell you, how do I invest? How do I invest today for over the next 14, 15 years to make sure that I participate as an investor in this better world we're going to live in? Well, I believe it's going to be driven by those people who have the oil that's going to feed this system. Well, what is the oil that's going to feed this system? It's data. It's that damn simple. It's data. Artificial intelligence cannot move forward without data. Synthetic biology cannot move forward without data. Genome sequencing cannot move forward without data and the processing of that data. Taking the diseases out of our bodies so that we don't die of cancer and Alzheimer's and heart disease and Parkinson's. all can happen is wrapped around data. So who owns the data? Well, I think we know that, but in case you don't know that, let me take you to my computer and show you who owns the data, who has the history of making good use of that data, and thus makes good use of your money as an investment. And I have 5 companies that I insist that you look at and you make a decision that you want to invest in these 5 companies over the next 12 years, 14 years, because they are going to take and create the new world that Cass Elliot is singing about. Let's take a look. So this is where I think you should invest to take advantage of this second digital revolution that we're going to go through and the invention of our world, our new world that's coming. And I choose these because they control the data, and data is going to be the key element that is going to take us through artificial intelligence, synthetic biology, genome sequencing, genome editing, and create our new beginning. So who owns the data? Well, it's Apple, it's Microsoft, it's Amazon, it's Google, and it's NVIDIA that will take the DNA that I told you about, put it on a chip, and then make it available for you and I to make the decisions that we're going to need to make in the future. So let's look at past history to give us some sort of idea. If we're going into the next digital revolution, how did they all fare in the past digital revolution? So what I basically said is started in 2004. That's right after we came out of the dot-com bubble. And I looked at each one of them and said, how did their stocks perform on an annual basis? And what if I invested $1,000 into each one of these 5 stocks over the last, what would that be, 19 years. And so it starts with Apple. And if I had invested $1,000 each year between 2004 and 2003, I'd have $992,000. Microsoft, I wouldn't have done nearly as well. I'd have 134. Amazon, I'd have 403. NVIDIA, I'd have 976. That becomes, I believe, the winner. And Google, I'd have 79,000. In total, I'd have $2.5 million. That is investing $5,000 a year into 5 different stocks and just basically dollar cost averaging. So that comes up, as I said, to $2.5 million and an average rate of return of 33%. So if I believe that these 5 stocks are going to be, again, because they own the data, they're going to be the key players. We know that these are the players, Google, particularly Google and Microsoft, who are making the investments in some of these new companies that I'll tell you about in a second that are going to take us in that direction. So that's where I would say invest your money, no matter what your age is. And if you've got 19 years in front of you, you've got a good chance that your $5,000 a year is going to turn into $2.5 million. And then I would say adjust that for inflation. So it will probably actually be more than that. Okay, why do I believe this is a fail-safe way to go? Let's talk more about that. Okay, there you have it. The best investment opportunity of your lifetime. If you can't muster $5,000 a year, talk to your grandfather, okay? Talk to your father. Tell them, look, if you're going to leave me something, some sort of inheritance, why don't you put it in a trust and invest in these 5 companies and under as best you can, staying within the tax law. And if you don't understand the tax law, we can talk about that at another time. He can give you up to $10,000 a year, or he can use his unified credit and give you in one fell swoop, I think it's now $1.28 million. So, and then if grandma wants to give you the same amount, These are the 5 companies. Now, I'm going to find other companies, and on page 102, they mention a small company in San Francisco who is going to be the company who is going to provide NVIDIA with the chip that has the or is going to provide them with the synthetic DNA that NVIDIA can put on that chip. There are going to be some tremendous investment opportunities as a result of this, because this is, as Cass Elliot says, the new world is coming. We'll talk more about this. I'll guarantee you that. And this is not financial advice. This is the best damn financial education you're going to receive from anywhere. I don't care if you go to Harvard Business School, they ain't going to tell you this. Talk to you again tomorrow.